Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum. And we are meeting once again with lecture 15 of Business English. And we are almost half the way our course. Well, in our previous lecture, what we did, we had a workshop based on our knowledge of resume writing and letter writing. We also discussed a kind of memo writing. And so far we have been having our discussions regarding subject matter based topics and language expansion activities and listening skills that I'm trying to embed almost in all the lectures, so you have a routine practice of your listening skills that is business based. So in lecture 15 today we are going to talk about, it's going to be a brief introduction of something entirely new that we haven't discussed so far. We will be talking about different types of technical documents, although we have discussed some technical documents already in the previous lecture. But today we will talk about how to write a report in business, how to document a business report. We will also talk about computer reports, anatomy of a report, sales proposals, future of reports, and how do we communicate? We communicate by different documents, business documents, and report is one of major documents of those, documents. And types of reports, how many different types of reports are there? And we may also include classification of reports from formal to informal, and steps in report writing, how do you organize them, the writing style implications that we have to take care of, and then do's and don'ts, and before we write technical documents, what do we need to do? What is the audience adaptation strategy, and compromising reports and proposal, and composing it, and drafting report content, and all that. All right. So when we are talking about report writing, we need to really bring in the ethics of visual communication, because report writing, visual communication is one of the basic ingredients of technical documentation. So this will also be a part of discussion. Let's start with our report writing. Well, before I start with report writing, I would want you to probe and think about, when you are going to learn about report writing, what are the new things that you want to learn about it? Well, you would definitely want to know what is a report, what is the difference between report writing and essay writing, why do we write reports, how do we write reports, do we have any formats, are there any language specification, audience specification, what do we include in report, what are these reports about usually, and so on and so forth. So I would say, before you start with the listening to this lecture, pause it here and try to make a list of all the questions that you want to be answered. This way you are going to be a very active listener, involving your assumptions, your expectations into the lecture will help you understand what you are thinking about, what you are looking for, and question what is left, so you can go for your own personal research to satisfy your urge of knowing about the things. Alright, so let's start with today's talk about report writing, and this is a brief introduction of that, and I will start with different bringing in different documents that help us communicate in business. We know that CV and resume is one. These are two of the very CV and resume is almost it's one thing, and it's one very important and significant document in business world, because it helps us finding a place where we can serve and we can show our skills and capabilities. Then email, websites, frequently asked questions, letter, newsletters, brochures, article, catalogs, advertisements, notice boards, pamphlets, signs, press releases, presentations, multimedia talks, and reports, manual, and proposal. All of these are basically ways to communicate in business. So these are business reflectors, business communicators. Now, what are the reports that we really need to pay attention to when we are talking about business world or business scenario? These are sales report, inspection report, annual reports, audit reports, feasibility reports, progress reports, and white paper reports. So, when we talk about all these reports, do they all belong to one kind of report, or are there any other classifications inside? Like for letters, we have formal letters and informal letters. For memo, we have again the formal and informal tone and approach. So, do we have this classification in the report writing as well? Yes, we do. We do have formal reports and informal reports, what the information reports, analytical reports, all these are going to be our concerns when we are discussing about it. So before that we talk about these types of reports separately. First we need to know that what makes a report different from other types of writing, particularly from a narrative writing or an essay writing or an argumentative talk. What is this that makes report stand as a different kind of document? For that we need to know what are the steps in report writing and what is the final product. So 5 main steps that I would like to bring in your attention, I would like to start with in talking about reports are define the problem. Reports basically talks about things, whether you are proposing them or you are done doing them. Okay, so it defines a problem that you are dealing with or going to deal with. It gathers the necessary information to make up backup information and background knowledge of the information or the situation or the product. It analyzes the information on paper in black and white by developing by implementing an analytical approach. You remember in the previous 2 workshops, what I've been doing with you, I've been helping you develop your analytical skills. And how did we do it? We try to analytically discuss the reading comprehensions and the conversations between people. And the process that we followed is to first of all, getting into sentence by sentence discussion based on the logics that we can develop or we can generate, and then putting them together to get some result to form our opinion. So this skill will help you out when you are doing your report writing, because okay, collecting information is one thing, but what do you do with this collected material? You bring it together, and in the light of your problem and the background information, then you have to analyze the information and see what comes out of it, what emerges out of it. All right, then you need to organize the information, because the way you do it may not be the way you would like to present it, because when you are composing a report, you are moving back and forth on the information. Once you have to go to problem area, check the background knowledge, go to your results, then again go to your collected material, analyze it again, pick up the analyzed material, go back to your problem, develop links. So what you are doing, it may have a different organization, but what we would like to present, it is how you would like to present as a solved case for the reader. So he has or she has a hierarchy to go through of the content, so it's easy for him or her to understand. So we would always design an organization for your report. And then you write the report. Once you are done with all the materials in chunks and pieces, you will put them together in a particular order that you have designed, and you will compose your report. Now, in organizing report, what you do, you bring in different concepts of comparison and contrast. Basically what you are trying to do, you remember I discussed with you that whenever we are doing technical documents, business technical documents, we have purposes behind, and most of the time the purposes are either to inform or to persuade, and many of the times both of these purposes, they get together and we are informing as well as persuading. So, and then there are other categories of purposes as well, and we discuss them in detail. However, when we are writing reports, mostly we are dealing with information and persuasiveness together. So whenever we are persuading somebody or convincing somebody, one famous strategy that we use is that we try to convince people by providing them with comparisons of things or contrast of things. We are always trying to support one idea, and whenever we are supporting one idea, we try to bring in the confronting idea, and we try to have a comparison between both of them to show, see, this stands bright. So to make somebody see that one thing stands bright, you have to provide the other thing so the person can have a comparison and contrast. Okay, problem and solution. So if we are providing our readers with a solution of a problem, then we need to discuss problem in detail. We need to discuss different types of solutions that are available or possible in the market or outside, and then probably we must be referring to certain problems as our priority, or we see them as, you know, most suitable solutions. So how do I convince my reader that this is most suitable solution? If I have an intention to persuade him or her to take a decision in its favor, I have to convince them. And again, for convincing, I need to either bring in comparison or contrast to let him or her understand why do I prefer one out of these or one out of two. Then elimination of alternatives, and slowly and gradually when we are providing our comparison and contrast, we are you know, if this is the target solution and there are 1, 2, 3 different solutions that I want to you know, compare each one of this, and then in the end I want to say that this one is the one that I prefer for these and these reasons. How do I do that? I pick up one item, I set a criteria of evaluation, and then maybe there are 10 items that I want to compare these products for. So I pick up the first item and then say, okay, talk about the cost effectiveness. So it's cost, like it's user friendly. I say this is more user friendly and this is less user friendly. However, definitely this solution will have user friendly aspects. So first of all, I will bring all those user friendly aspects that I have in mind and that are critical for the problem. I make a list of them, then I will try to judge and weigh both of these options for that. And of course, if I have this in my mind, a better user-friendly option, I have more ideas and more logics behind to support my point of view. So once I'm done with comparing this product, I will slowly eliminate the alternatives, and now these are two focus for this criteria. So elimination process is one process where that is ongoing when you are analyzing things. General to particular, and like it's always in report writing there are two approaches, and I can help you understand these two approaches by either normally it's general to particular. You can imagine this as a triangle or an upside down pyramid that has a flat surface on the top and then the pointed face, it's pointed area facing down. So what happens that you start with those general things, slowly and gradually you are cutting short and moving towards the specific. So it's a journey from a general to particular. Geographic or spatial, and you have to categorize what kind of things you are dealing with. We will discuss it in detail. Functional aspect of the report, whether it's chronological or not. So when we are doing report writing, it's what we are dealing with. We are dealing with words and words. Language is the most significant item that you are dealing with while writing and doing business documentation, because this is what holds the power to transform your thoughts and logics and opinions and point of views and facts and all whatsoever is possible onto the paper. If you do not have this skill, efficient skill, then the gaps can be developed and you won't be able to transfer the idea that you have, or whatever is going to be transferred will be something else. So the communication failure can take place. We have different types of Englishes. People call it a standard English, but well, yes, nowadays we don't have a standard English because English is spoken by many different developed countries, and you have UK English, you have US English, you have Australian English, you have even you have Indian English, you have Pakistani English. So English that is grammatically correct and that system that enables you communicate your idea is English. It's a set of rules of that language that you're following. So as far as you're able to convey your message and it's grammatically correct, you ensure the accuracy, that's fine. No matter what English you're following, but try to stick to one type of English that you use in your report. Don't try to make it a hodgepodge. In one area of the report you're talking about US English, it's American English, use of English, and in the other topic of the report you're talking about UK English and you're using that type of vocabulary. Then you move on to Indian English or you move on to Pakistani English. No, don't do it. Whatsoever set of rules you want to follow throughout your report and try to maintain consistency, because it talks about the authenticity of your information as well. If you're switching on to language, you can switch on to anything else as well. Well, that was just a fun thing, but it's professional. Professional writers stick to they make their informed decision which set of rules they are going to follow, and then they stick to them unless there is a reason to switch. Denotation and connotation. At times you feel like using one word that has a different connotation in culture, but it has a different denotative meaning. Now let me make these two terms clear to you. Denotative is a meaning that is written in the dictionary. However, connotation is a meaning that a context brings to that word. Maybe if I'm using a word that has a meaning in the dictionary, it's altogether different when I use this word in some other culture. So if my word is culture specific and it has a different word meaning than dictionary, I should provide my readers with the meaning. If I cannot clarify that in the text where I'm using it, I can attach a glossary of terms, and there I can make a reference to that glossary, that the glossary explains the meaning the way I want my readers to understand it. Okay, so look at these two examples. Let me know when you are free next week for a meeting, and could you let me know what times you have free? So if we take it connotatively, they both have different meaning for different cultures. Tone is very important, and we have already talked about tone a lot, and I'll try to bring all that knowledge and will make you apply that tone knowledge on when we are doing report writing. Terry is hung up on trivial details. Terry is meticulous and takes care of details that offers that others sometimes ignore. Look at the difference of tone and then the difference of meaning that it is conveying. We will also talk about the writing style strategies when we are doing reports, because report is almost I often call it a kind of a final product. All what you are learning in business communication basically prepares you for designing such documents as proposals, reports, and preparing business presentations. So if I'm talking about listening skills, I'm talking about speaking skills. I want you to learn how to write a business letter, how to write a memo, how to write your resume. What you are going to be a professional, and professional eventually what he or she does, he or she works on projects, and either they are proposing changes or proposing an idea, or they are working on an idea, and if they work on an idea, you produce a report. So a document that a professional needs to produce when he or she is working in business is either a proposal or a report all the time. So now you are going to deal with something very serious and very sensitive, and you have to bring in all the knowledge that you could receive so far to the left half of the course, and try to apply that. So it's a kind of two-way communication that you are having with your course. You are giving your knowledge, you are receiving new knowledge, and making both of them help you assimilate it collectively. Well, look at this example. Campus Jewelers' main objective is to increase sales. Specifically, the objective is to double sales in the next 5 years by becoming a more successful businessman. What do you think about it? Is it a brief writing style? Look at this example now. Campus Jewelers' objective is to double sales in the next 5 years. So when we talk about conciseness, it is to cut short on unnecessary words. Always remember, when I say cut short on unnecessary words, it does not mean that you cut short the sentence. Always try to produce the same meaning that you want to produce in a longer sentence in a shorter sentence. And then we talked about different strategies which can help us produce, concise and pithy and to the point sentences. Like if we are using active voice, subject, verb, object approach, we are cutting short on words. If we are using subject appropriate vocabulary, terminologies and jargons, they help us have a word for an idea instead of writing this in a sentence or in sentences to describe what we want to say. Or if we are using, if you are using subject first approach, again it's SVO, but here we are making it clear and for our readers to follow what we are going to talk about. All right, so now you need to, what we did here, we try to, when we are trying to have a concise message, what we try to do, it's always writing process is always a step-by-step process. First you write, then you think about it, you give it a second thought, you rewrite, then you try to edit it, revise it. So after 2-3 attempts, your final product is ready. So what you are doing in try to make your message concise, you omit needless words and you combine sentences to shorten the length of the paragraph and then have lesser sentences possible. So you always, when you are doing this, when you're omitting, skipping things, you are rewriting for better structure of a sentence. We do IT in style. Well, whenever we are writing reports, we are following some kind of style. It's Chicago Manual of Style, or it's Elements of Style by Strunk and White. We have MLA, we have APA. There are different styles. There are Microsoft Manual of Style and Dictionary Style. So what we do, we try to focus on what style do we need for our report, and then we try to follow that. Normally MLA and APA are the styles that we prefer in report writing. Now we need to talk about anatomy of a report. What makes a report? How does a report look like? A report has a cover page, it has a title page, it has a letter of transmittal. What is that? We need to discuss it. It has table of contents, it has list of illustrations, it has an executive summary, body of the report, and sometimes you have, by the end you have appendixes and annexures. Okay. Now report body has certain things that we need to take care of, because that's a real text that a reader reads. So in introduction, let's talk about introduction first. That is going to be made up of purpose and scope. What is the purpose of your report? Why are you writing it? What purpose do you want to achieve? What are the outcomes you expect? And what is the scope of writing your report? Now basically composing a report is very expensive task. Expensive in many ways. It's time consuming, it's energy consuming, it's money consuming, because there is a lot of work involved. So it's men work that you are putting in. At times it takes days to compose a report, because you're going here and there, collecting information, sitting on your desk, considering files and previous reports, and going through the records and checking them and analyzing them. So it takes a lot of time. Many a times it involves money as well, it involves traveling. So if you're doing all these things and producing a report that does not keep a worth, then it's going to cost you, or it's going to cost your company, or it's going to cost both of you. So always try to be very clear right in the beginning. What is the scope of your report? Why are you writing it? Who is going to be benefited? And what are going to be the benefits of writing this report? Reports are they always have limits. You cannot talk about all the things and everything in your report. Report has a specific direction to follow, so you need to clarify your direction right in the beginning. So reader, because it's an extended reading, a report is not of one page, it is of many pages. So right in the beginning the reader is very clear that what are the margins that he or she has to stick to, and the report does not talk about beyond that margin. So delimit your idea and word the delimitations right in the beginning of your report. It deals with assumptions because whenever you are reporting, whether you are informing or you are persuading, you talk about assumptions, because if it's altogether a new thing, you cannot talk about that whether it has been successful or not. But yes, looking at the outcomes that you can find around based on your research, you can make your assumptions that this may work well in your particular situation that you are going to offer in. However, assumptions are assumptions and they can help you form hypotheses. But these hypotheses will be true or false that the course of research will confirm. And by the end of your research, you will be able to form your decision whether your assumption was right or wrong. And there are methods to go through your research, and research has a methodology to follow. It's a scientific process of finding out a solution. So it has methods to apply. So your introduction not only talks about purpose and scope, limitations, assumptions, it also talks about the methods that you are going to apply to go through this research process. Then the second important thing that forms the body of your report is the background knowledge or history of the problem. Well, many a times just stating the problem is not enough unless you inform the reader that what is the background of this knowledge and what are those factors that basically cause this problem to stand as the way it is or to exist as the way it is. So you try to bring in the background information to develop the grounds to address that problem, in a way it should be addressed, because unless you are really informed about the context or situation the problem exists in, you may not be ready to address the issue. So you ground yourself into the problem by having complete information about it, and then you let your readers to be to be rooted into their knowledge to be rooted into the details, so they are completely aware of hows and whats about the problem. So then the body is formed as it presents and interprets data, your research data. It presents conclusions and recommendations. It provides references or works cited. Appendixes are there. In appendixes you can attach interviews, transcripts, questionnaires, question tails, printouts and previous reports. What is letter of transmittal? Well, I'm just touching upon all the possible things that are related with the report, and we will have our detailed discussion about each and everything. Don't worry about it. So just now I talked about the body of the report. Now I'm talking about one important enclosure that the report has. It's in fact basically a cover, a wrapper for the report. It's letter of transmittal. It has a background of the problem, it summarizes the conclusion and recommendations, and it talks about the minor problems, thank those who helped, and provides some additional research resources if necessary, thank the reader for the time, and offer to answer questions if there are any. So it serves as a kind of cover letter for the report. Now, let us have a few words about document design. How do we design this document? We use no more than 5 fonts in the entire document. Maybe font of our major headings, font of our subheadings, and font of our text. They vary. Then we have a different font to head our illustrations, maybe, and different font to head our tables and graphs. So we do not usually go beyond 5 fonts, because then it becomes a hodgepodge of fonts. Use no more than 5 colors. Well, preferably use black color that is there if you are going to have a black and white report. However, if you want to use colors, you can use a color for graphs and color for your tables and color for your illustrations, but do not try to design your entire text as a color box and you have different colors of your font and your document has different borders and all that stuff. No, it's not like that. It's a professional document. It needs to have that professional appearance. Well, you can use glossy paper if you want to, but it shouldn't be too glossy to disturb the reader when he or she is reading the information. We normally use white spaces as we use when we are designing our document. We use margins, and the standard margins are 1 inch on each side, leaving the left side, because left side is used for binding purpose, and here the normally margin is 1.5 or 1.25, so we leave the margin of 0.25 or 0.5 to get into the binding, so it does not disturb the reader when he or she opens it up for reading. Use templates. Yes, we can use templates if there are templates available. And we use parallelism inside our report, because not all the time we are able to, produce short sentences. So whenever we have to deal with long sentences or longer sentences and it gets indispensable, how can we embed clarity in them? So we embed clarity in our longer sentences by bringing in parallelism. Avoid double emphasis. Okay, some frequently asked questions. UVI, personal pronouns. What pronoun should be used? Standards for report. What are the standards for report? How long a report should be? Some common errors that we have to take care of. It's a common error. Its consequences are great. Singular and plural errors, neutrality errors, where we are addressing genders, specific genders, making it like we say chairman. When we say chairman, it makes the other person feel, and especially if she's a woman, that we are not taking care of her gender. So it's better to call chairperson than chairman or chairwoman. To making it gender biased, go for some neutral pronoun that serves both of them. So I will bring in all these intricacies and sensitive issues into discussion, detailed discussion, when we are having. We are just touching upon the total the contents that we have to look into in detail. So before we start discussions about reports and proposals in detail, we will just quickly go through all the possible corners that we have to go deep and explore. So when we are dealing with report writing and proposal writing, we are dealing with effective writing strategies, effective writing style, and effective use of visual aids. All right. Then audience adaptation. I think we are quite clear about this U attitude when we are dealing with technical business document, the style and language, the appropriate tone, and cultural sensitivity that we have to be very careful about. Then composing reports and proposals, they have, all the documents, business documents have parts, and these body parts like introduction, body, and conclusion. But when we are dealing with reports, the body is basically the presentation, and the conclusion is the main point that we reinforce. Introduction of subject and introduction has these parts like report context. We talk about subject and purpose. We talked about main idea. We talked about overall tone. Body talks about presentation, analysis, interpretation, and supporting documents and supporting details. And conclusions talk about main points, benefits, action items, and action details. So drafting report content, well, they have to be accurate, they have to be complete. And by accurate, what I mean, they have to be balanced, they have to be clear and logical, they have to be documented properly. And that is the same for completeness. We need to have balanced approach, clear and logical approach, and need to go for a properly documented approach. So when we talk about accuracy and completeness, we are focusing on 3 of these things together. Now, report introduction, talks about the authorization, scope of coverage, sources and methods, limitations, opportunity or purpose, background, terms and definitions, and report organizations. So a report's introduction basically talks about these 8 areas together by touching upon these things. Well, when we are done with our detailed discussion that we are going to take time in, I will show you sample reports and we will have our analysis, so you don't need to worry about it. The body of the report deals with explanations of problem or opportunity. It also deals with facts, statistics, and trends. It deals with results of studies or investigation. It brings in discussions and analysis of potential actions. And it also brings in advantages, disadvantages, costs and benefits, comparisons and analysis to help us or the reader form his or her decision. Well, it may have procedures or steps in a process if it's a report, progress report, methods and approaches to look into, criteria for evaluating options, and conclusions and recommendations and support for conclusion and recommendations. However, not all the reports have all these things at the same time. They may have, they may not have, they may have some of it, they may not have some of them. It depends what kind of report we are writing. However, these are different aspects that are included in the report. Now, we talked about the introduction part of the report, we talked about the body of the report. Now let's talk about the closing of the report. A closing part of the report has a summary, conclusion, recommendations, and action plans. So, now look at the content of a proposal or a report. You have introduction, body, and closing. And what it is covering the attention and interest of you and your reader, and it is action and desire of you and your reader that you close with. Sometimes these are solicited proposals and reports, sometimes these are unsolicited. Now, you are getting to know your two new terms regarding business documents. The solicited documents are the documents that are demanded, that are requested for, or the tasks that are assigned. For example, if my boss asks me to design a proposal to bring in a new machine in the department, and gives me the target of researching about the machine and finding out if it is useful or beneficial for our company or not, and if it is, then form my proposal and design my proposal to submit, and then the board of directors will take decision whether the machine should be bought or not. So it's a solicited task that he assigns me. Now, the unsolicited task is that I do myself, like I do voluntarily. Nobody assigns it to me, and I do voluntarily. For example, if I'm working in a company and it's an advertisement company, and a product has come in for us to make an advertisement about, and I have a wonderful idea that I want to work on for this particular product. So what I will do is that I will design my product idea, and I may make a presentation, I may make a proposal, and I submit this proposal to my boss, telling him that this is the best way we can promote this product, and I would like to do it, or this idea should be taken up to design our advertisement for this product. So what I'm doing, I am volunteering. Definitely it's like offering one idea of mine, and I'm putting up a proposal for that by looking into all details to convince my boss that this idea should win among all other ideas that we are going to apply to promote this product as an advertisement. So I hope this idea of solicited and unsolicited is clear to you. Solicited, the tasks that are assigned to us officially, and unsolicited, that we do ourselves, following our own desires and intentions, and we volunteer for something. Alright, now moving on. Strategies for success. Well, I said these are the eventual documents that a business person produce, reports and proposals. So they are very important. So what should be the strategies to be successful in doing that? You need to demonstrate your knowledge, and in order to demonstrate your knowledge, you can provide concrete examples. You can research the information and the competitors existing in the market, existing in the office, all the competitors existing for that particular task or project. Offer a workable proposal. Always offer is some proposal that is workable, that can be worked out, that is real. Don't go for ideas that are based on fantasies, because business is a very practical word. Relate to your audience's need. Maybe one idea is wonderful in your head, but when you put this idea on the table, seeing if it is suitable to meet the audience need, that idea may not be workable. So always try to judge your idea, always apply this audience needs strategy on your idea to understand whether this idea works with your audience or not. Only if it is audience-centered idea, your idea will be appreciated. Present and activate attractive package. So your idea has to be a complete package. It should address the problem, it should please your audience, it should please the doer and the person for whom this idea is being materialized. So all the parties are happy. So you are providing a package, a pleasure package for all the stakeholders involved in that idea. Personal introduction. Well, yes, you may need to give the personal introduction. This can be a individual's introduction, or this can be a introduction of your organization, the background of your organization, the scope that the proposal has for either for you or for your company or for both of these parties, the solution that you are going to offer, and the organization that you work in or you are associated with. All right, so the proposal body offers basically solution, and it has a working plan and qualifications to solve the problem, and detailed cost is provided there because we know that it is about some kind of change, and change brings in the concerns about cost. And then the proposal closing. It has key points, reinforces the idea of what you are offering, provides benefits, commitment, shows commitment, and shows qualification that you are able to, or we are able to materialize the idea. So this was a precise talk about the different areas that we need to focus on when we are talking about report writing. Our next lecture is going to be a detailed study of all these things step by step from beginning till the end. So I hope that this will give you, form your basis, prepare the ground for a detailed discussion on the topic of report writing. And now we are ready for our listing exercise of the talk. Let's see what we have to explore today. All right, in today's listening activity, you are going to talk about Francesca. You're going to listen to her interview, and you will complete the following table with the correct information. So let's listen to Francesca, who is an Italian lady. See what she has to share with us.
I'm Francesca, and I'm from Italy. We generally write press release about tourism. We work with tourism, so our clients are tour operator, tourism entity. We write about travels, about traveling, and about destination all over the world, from Peru to Quebec to Africa. Well, I arrived at work at 9 o'clock. I work with my computer. I generally use emails and speak with my clients by emails or by phone, and we write press release, and we generally try to catch information on the internet. Well, because we don't really know every destination of which we speak of, and so we have to find information or find some curiosities on internet. Well, I also organize some press trip, which is a trip with journalists and photographers, and generally is our clients who ask us to organize a press trip because they want to promote the destination. And so we try to find journalists who are interested to go to this place, and then they will write an article and try to publicize the article on a magazine or a newspaper. That's it. I finish my work day at 6 o'clock in the afternoon. We organize a lot of press trip during the year for our clients, but it's really an occasion that we can go with one of these press trip to a campaign. Last year, I went to Brazil with a group of journalists. It was a wonderful experience because we stayed just into the nature and we saw places not really visited by tourists. So we went in real Brazil to know people who just live there and to see how they live. Another opportunity that I had is to went on a sailboat and we just did a little cruise in Mediterranean Sea. It was also a nice experience. It's not easy to have to do with clients. Some clients are good, so I can work with them easily. Some other, it's difficult. They don't really understand sometimes our job, so they don't understand that if we ask them a travel package because we have to write about that, they don't understand that if we ask them that we need for Monday, it's because we do really need for Monday. And so sometimes we have to phone them every day to ask, please send me what I need to do my job. Well, I think it's normal. I think that every kind of job you have positive and negative aspects. The majority of my time I work with Peruvians. So I speak Spanish with them. Sometimes I speak English because we also work for Quebec and for Victoria, which is a state of Australia. I find this job by chance because I wanted before to have my own agents about events organization. And so I tried to make my own agents. Then it was a bit difficult. One of our clients, who was one of my friends, tell me that my boss was searching for another person. And so we started working together and I started to collaborate with her. I like the job that I do now. I would like to be like a freelance. I don't really like to have somebody who tells me what to do. So I would prefer to work alone,
All right, here you are. I hope by now you are done with putting in the correct information in the table. All right, let's move on. And now you are going to focus on the more detailed part of the interview. That is, you have to listen again and complete by circling the information that you can now see on the screen. You have to answer the following questions, which are 4 in number. And then the fourth one, you have to decide if the following statements about the interview are true or false. And here you go.
I'm Francesca and I'm from Italy. We generally write press release about tourism. We work with tourism, so our clients are tour operator, tourism entity. We write about travels, about traveling, and about destination all over the world, from Peru to Quebec to Africa. Well, I arrived at work at 9 o'clock. I work with my computer. I generally use emails and speak with my clients by emails or by phone, and we write press release, and we generally try to catch information on internet. Well, because we don't really know every destination of which we speak of, and so we have to find information or find some curiosities on internet. Well, I also organize some press trip, which is a trip with journalists and photographers, and generally is our clients who ask us to organize a press trip because they want to promote the destination. And so we try to find journalists who are interested to go to this place, and then they will write an article and try to publicize the article on a magazine or a newspaper. That's it. I finish my work day at 6 o'clock in the afternoon. We organize a lot of press trip during the year for our clients, but it's really an occasion that we can go with one of these press trips to a campaign. Last year I went to Brazil with a group of journalists. It was a wonderful experience because we stayed just into the nature and we saw places not really visited by tourists. So we went in real Brazil to know people who just live there and to see how they live. Another opportunity that I had is to went on a sailboat, and we just did a little cruise in Mediterranean Sea. It was also a nice experience. It's not easy to have to do with clients. Some clients are good, so I can work with them easily. Some other, it's difficult. They don't really understand sometimes our job, so they don't understand that if we ask them a travel package because we have to write about that, they don't understand that if we ask them that we need for Monday, it's because we do really need for Monday. And so sometimes we have to phone them every day to ask, please send me what I need to do my job. Well, I think it's normal. I think that every kind of job you have positive and negative aspects. The majority of my time I work with Peruvians. So I speak Spanish with them. Sometimes I speak English because we also work for Quebec and for Victoria, which is a state of Australia. I find this job by chance because I wanted before to have my own agents about events organization, and so I tried to make my own agents. Then it was a bit difficult. One of our clients, who was one of my friends, tell me that my boss was searching for another person, and so we started working together, and I started to collaborate with her. I like the job that I do now. I would like to be like a freelance. I don't really like to have somebody who tells me what to do. So I would prefer to work alone,
All right. Now let me tell you the answers so you can match your answers with mine and see how far you have been able to get them right. Well, nationality, the girl's nationality is Italian, and she writes press releases to do with travel and organizes press trips. She works from 9 a.m. to 6 p.m. and her languages that she speaks are Italian, Spanish, and English. Well, for the second question, the very first one, A is email and phone, B is the internet, and C is Canada. For third is, well, journalists and photographers, occasionally she also accompanies the group. Second, Brazil and the Mediterranean Sea. Third, that some clients don't understand that deadlines are important. She spends a lot of time chasing clients for information. That maybe upsets her a little. The fourth one is she mostly speaks Spanish with her clients, but sometimes she speaks English too. The fourth one is, one is true, second is true, third is false, fourth is false. She would like to be a freelancer. All right, now you have some notes to take care of because there were several things that would warrant some discussion. So the screen, if you focus on the screen, it gives you a detail of some grammatical errors and misuse of language that has been done in the interview. So you can look at the suggested corrections. We catch information on the internet. We get information from the internet. To go to these places, journalists who are interested in going to these places, I find this job, I found this job, a friend told me, a friend told me. These were some major problems that I wanted to bring into your attention. So this was all for today's talk. And what we did, we tried to understand the basics of report writing. Rather, we tried to touch upon different areas that we are going to talk in detail about report writing, and we had our listening activity for today. This was all for today's lecture. I will see you in the next talk, inshallah. Allah Hafiz.